So today we're kicking it off, and just mark this, guys, one thing. Let's take a look at that.
You are watching the Beyond Sunday podcast.
Okay, so we're continuing in. We're still in chapter 1 of Galatians. We just finished up the greeting, and we're moving on to the first main section. So in my study Bible, it says only one gospel, and that's where we're kicking off with AP today. The Apostle Paul is going to share some of the rebuke. He's diving in on the Galatians already, and let's take a look at what he's got to say. Picking up in verse 6, he says this, I marvel that you are turning away so soon from him. Man, he's starting off good at him already. Who called you, him meaning God, who called you in the grace of Christ to a different gospel, which is not another, but there are some who trouble you and want to pervert the gospel of Christ. Oof, that's rough. But even if we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel to you than what we have preached to you, let him be accursed. Big word. That's rough there. So don't change anything. As we have said before, so now I say again. Man, I hate reminding you guys, is what he's saying. If anyone preaches any other gospel to you than what you have received, let him be accursed. Paul just doubled down there. So that's a serious warning. Here we go, bringing it home. For do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I still pleased men, I would not be a bondservant of Christ. So there we go. That is the section for today. So what is going on? Paul quickly goes from, hey, guys, how's it going? Love the Lord to you. Things are going good. And he goes, all right, here's the deal. I've had it with you guys already. What's happened? A lot of his letters, you start reading his letters, he sits there and he calls them saints. He sits there and encourages them, and he's kind to them and everything else. And even in the letter to the Corinthians, when he is sitting there and gonna rebuke them and really get some great correction going for him, he still goes, man, you guys are saints and I love you so much. I love what's going on there and everything else. And then he starts diving in. We got a handful of words. He is already slapping fools around. So this really conveys to me, there's this tone that says, no, this is serious. There's stuff going on, and I've got some urgency about this. You know, I got to skip some of the pleasantries. It almost gives me this feeling, because we have to remember, this is a man writing a letter, inspired by God, yes, but this is a man with a heart, with a care and compassion. He's writing, and you almost get this sense like he is so troubled by this that he has that apostolic, hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Paul. God's grace and peace to you, because I never want to take that away. But I've got to jump in on this thing because this is urgent. I just imagine that there was just a lot of weight that he was feeling in on this. So he leaves kind of the gospel and the grace thing right out front, and he goes, hey, here's the deal. He goes, you guys have left, and this is important, two things. You guys have left the gospel and grace. So that's the whole deal, right? As followers of Christ, is that we have the gospel. We have the good news that Christ has come, that we have forgiveness for our sins. We have new life in him, and grace. We have this unmerited gift that has been given to us, something that we don't have to earn. He says, you guys have left that behind already. You guys, you've got the best deal in the universe and you chucked it, and there's some new thing that you're doing that isn't really good news at all. And he says, hey, this is puzzling to me. And he says, if there's anything that's adding, changing, or deleting from the gospel, hey, these are the words of Jesus. Anything that's kind of being shoehorned in, he's like, be warned. There are severe things coming if you're doing stuff like that. So Paul is really laying out a serious charge before he even begins discussing the details. And I think this is so interesting, because think about this. A lot of times we just dive into an argument. I mean, come on. you guys have had a disagreement with somebody and you just go, hey, you said this, or, I think this. And you start diving into the meat and the details. Here's the deal. Paul's going to start laying this out. And what he wants to do is he's going to lay out the case, the severity, before he mentions issue 1 at all. And so if you're not familiar with the story, he's going to be kind of teasing this out a little bit, and you're going to be like going, what did they do wrong? What the heck, bro? Because he just keeps going, by the way, here's the gospel. If you don't do it, this is serious. And it's like he's going, do you agree with me? I mean, the gospel's a real deal. This is the serious word of God. This is the good news we have. This is the free gift we have. So if you're not doing that, do you understand how big a deal that is? And by the way, I love how he adds in, he goes, hey, by the way, even if you don't believe that, hey, I'm a big deal apostle, I have my authority from Jesus, and that should be enough. He shoehorns in over here. He goes, oh, by the way, even if it's me or another guy who thinks he's a big deal, or I don't know, let's just say an angel from heaven directly, anybody comes and adds anything to what Jesus spoke, accursed. He's laying that out there. So again, this is really cool. Just in these few short words, Paul is saying, this is how strong the case is. This is how I know this is this serious. It doesn't matter what it is. Add, delete, anything else, anybody, even a messenger from heaven comes down and goes, by the way, Jesus says you have to earn some salvation. Here are the new plans. If that happens, he goes, whoever that is accursed. And what he's doing is he goes, I'm cutting off any debates. Because if somebody says, hey, now that we're talking about the issue, don't you think this would be a good idea? Couldn't we just, I don't know, maybe add this in or something? Paul goes, accursed. See the aforementioned comments. We don't have to argue about this. Is that something new? Accursed. Is that changed? Accursed. So he's laying out the case right here. So when he does get to the issue, when we do get to the point where we're unpacking that, he goes, remember what we agreed on before? We don't add or delete. We don't take away from this. So that's where he's laying out in the beginning. We continue on in, so we keep unpacking. And again, Paul is such a brilliant man. When you start taking this a piece at a time, the next thing he says is, who am I here to make happy? Am I here to impress a crowd? Am I here to win you guys over? Am I a politician that's glad-handing folks and saying the right things that make the right folks happy? Nope. He says, I am here specifically for God. He goes, the things I'm talking about because these are the things God told me. I'm talking about this because I'm passionate about what God cares about. I am here because I'm honoring God with my words. That's who my audience is, not even you guys. But the thing is, I see something going on, and I'm talking to you guys to honor God. And whoever you're talking to, whoever you aim to please, that person is the person who masters over you. So if I'm sitting there talking to the crowds, if I'm going, gosh, I'm just so worried about the words I use. Gosh, I hope I don't make you upset. I hope this settles with you. Then guess what? Those people are now your master. They control your direction. They're the ones who guide your thoughts and how you interact and everything else. And think about this. Let's get real with each other real quick. How often is that true for us? I mean, I'm a confessed people pleaser, and that's just eaten me up all throughout my whole life. But as we talk, as we gesture in front of people, and as we're guiding our life, when they're the audience, when they're the people that we're trying to satisfy and make happy, we may never use this language, but let's be honest. Those people are our master. Those are the people who we are trying to please and perform for. And Paul says, come on, am I trying to persuade you? Or am I speaking here to really serve God? So he makes it very clear, look, I love you guys and I care for you guys, but I'm not saying this to make you happy or anybody else happy. Because when we dive into this, there are people who are going to be saying, hey, I really am just looking out for you. He says, I'm looking out for the truth. I'm looking out for what God has to say. And then as he closes out the section, as we bring this one home to land, what we've got is him expressing, again, he kind of already touched on this in his greeting section, but he's talking about his authority. How do I know who you are, and he says, I am a bondservant. Remember, who's my master? Who am I trying to please? He says, I'm a bondservant of Christ. That's who my Lord is. That's who my master is. That's whose behalf I am speaking to you on. That's where my authority comes. And, they would have understood that in that day and age. So as we kind of dive in the culture and the context, if there was a noble, a lord, a master, a king, then they're not running all over the country talking to all the people they need to talk to. They have people that are being sent to carry and convey their message. And Paul is coming as a bondservant. I'm a servant of Christ. I am here bringing his word. That's what I'm doing. Not my message. I'm not my own guy, he's saying. I'm not on my own. This isn't my doctrine. These aren't my thoughts. I am a bondservant of Christ. And on his behalf, I send you this message. So there we go. That is what we've got for our section today. So we're going to bookmark it here and land this thing. And we will catch you back next time as we dive into our next section in Galatians. See you then.
This has been another episode of the Beyond Sunday podcast. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe.